Good Friday afternoon, everybody. Jim and Amadeus in the house, and it's gonna be a fun weekend. There's all kinds of crazy going on. Leading with which is we got a few championship league games going on this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of the championship obviously coming down to an important time in that league because obviously as the Premier League winds down and we see who's going to get relegated, some lucky teams from that league are going to get promoted. So it's going to be definitely probably some meaningful matches. I haven't looked too much at the championship.
I've taken it upon myself to get some Twitter questions for us today, and one of the questions I thought was pretty interesting. It's from Doug. Doug, I hope you're listening. If you're not, you'll catch it. I'll post it later. And that is, and we know it doesn't work in the United States, in the MLS, I should say, North America. But Doug wants to know, do they relegate in all the leagues in Europe?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got the chance of going up or down, depending upon what's going up.
Yeah, every single league basically in Europe has it. Like Italy has the Serie B, but there's also Serie C and D. And Germany, for example, they have the Bundesliga 2, and I think there's Bundesliga 3. And then once you get past there, they have a bunch of different regional leagues that play into you can get dropped all the way down to regional leagues or promoted back up. So every European country does it, and every South American country does it as well. You're on mute.
It's my turn not to speak. Okay. But I was just gonna say that that everybody but the North America is in that boat then, from that standpoint.
Well, actually, I believe even I have to double check though.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Mexican League might do it too, Liga MX.
Okay. So then it's getting closer and closer to home.
No, actually, I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Okay.
Doesn't seem.
Yeah. Debbie wants to know that how many games have you been to? It's a two-parter. How many games have you been to in Italy? One. And which place has the best food?
I've never actually been to a game in Italy. I've only been to Italy once in my life, and it was only for 2 weeks, and I was very young at the time. So honestly, I couldn't even remember what places I ate at. But definitely probably will be in the future.
Well, the other thing too is you got to believe, right? The ballpark food in an Italian soccer venue must be a high grade stuff.
You would think they do have. I will say from what I do remember from my trip to Italy years ago is that every place has a wood oven. So there's always some kind of wood oven pizza somewhere, wherever you may be.
Right. So you're all set to go, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So there you go. All right, Dennis. What do you got, Dennis? Dennis for Amadeus. Okay, here we go. If you could only bet on one league, what would it be?
Probably the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, obviously it's the most popular league out in Europe, and it just has the best quality teams and players by far. So definitely the Premier League, and I'm on a 32-12 run in the Premier League right now. So definitely making some money. I'm 8-1 in the last 9 picks, so definitely would be the Premier League for that.
Cash that one in. Okay, yeah. Here's another one. This one, fun one, and that is from a standpoint of Okay. What's the most important? I'm sorry. I'm trying to read. Okay. What is the most important role a defender has? Because I guess they don't know how that works.
The most important role, well,
I would assume the ball out of the net would be the most.
Yeah, the defender's most important role is always making sure that they don't get too much forward or put themselves in a position where they can't get back and defend.
Right. There's a
Positioning, a lot of it's positioning.
And what is a sweeper?
The sweeper's kind of like I don't see a lot of teams use it nowadays. A lot of teams use it their goalie actually kind of like a sweeper, but that was actually a position my dad played back in the day. But it was it's basically so you have your back line, but the sweeper is an extra person that defends deep. They always stay deep. They don't really push forward, and they're there to clear any ball that may get through past the back line. But like I said, a lot of teams nowadays they use the goalie. So if they get the back line can push forward, and if they get themselves into trouble, you'll see a lot of long passes back to the goalie, and then he'll pass it to another defender, or if he's getting if he's getting pressed by the other team, they'll just clear the ball out of the way. That's the sweeper's job, is to get it out of there.
I can go back to the NALS, and back in those days, the Cosmos had Franz Beckenbauer, who had obviously played in German league and was considered one of the best in the world. And he played that position. And I asked his coach one day, Eddie Fermani, about it. And he said, the perfect goal would be for Beckenbauer to touch the ball 3 times before they cross the center stripe. And then, so it's 3 one-touch passes that Beckenbauer would touch 3 out of the 6, and then off it would go to Canalia or Pele to put it in the back of the net. But his point of view was that the sweeper could be used as kind of like a point guard in basketball. Would that be very valid? Would you think? Analysis?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it has the same importance as the point guard, because the point guard is obviously it's like the quarterback of basketball. Of your team in basketball. But pretty much. I wouldn't say. I mean, I understand what you mean by controlling the game. Yeah, the same in that reference, but definitely not with the importance, because as I said, the sweeper's not really. You don't see a lot of just sole sweepers these days. It's mainly the goalkeeper now. They call it the sweeper keeper. The sweeper keeper. A few of them like to play that, but you definitely could use. That's definitely a way to use the sweeper. It's a little more unconventional, but I mean, if it works out, I mean, definitely.
Okay, Danny 49. Okay, wants to know. Danny 49 wants to know. You guys talk about the number 9, position 9. What is it, and why is it important?
Well, the number 9 is basically just the striking position, because the way soccer actually works is theoretically, this is again going back years back in the day. Now it's more accepted to pick any number you want, because you just want to pick the number you like. But back in the day, how it worked was if you were in the starting 11. Everybody is numbered 1 to 11. That's how you knew you were starting. Anything higher than that, you would be a bench player. So basically, each number actually has a specific position, kind of like rugby, how it's supposed to have,
right.
If you're that number, you're supposed to be playing in that position on the field. Obviously, there's different formations, so it's you have to be flexible with it. But yeah, basically, the number 9 is the striker. It is the striker, or the center forward would be the false 9. Some people like to use the false 9, but the striker's job is to put the ball in the net. He is supposed to be your guy to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's why number 9s are so hard to find, because it's finishing is a lot of problem. Teams can hold possession all game. They can take a ton of shots, but if you're not getting meaningful shots on target, or you don't have a guy that knows how to place the ball and finish it properly, that's a big issue you see on a lot of these teams. So striker is very key part of the team. You need that if you want to have a good attack for sure.
All right. Let's go to one more and then we'll move on. Lionel Messi got himself in a little trouble with the PSG. Do players like Mbappe, Messi, and the stars get different treatment by the officials?
Absolutely.
It's not like any other. It's just like any other sport.
Yeah, no, I've seen it happen. Yeah, exactly. It's great. Put it like Wayne Gretzky in hockey. He used to get special treatment all the time, and that's just the way it works. You see it in basketball, right? Certain guys get fouled all the time, and they don't call necessarily the foul on the star players, but they'll call it on the role players, the bench guys, the same kind of move. So absolutely. Even a few weeks ago, I think it was the PSG Lens game. I saw a Lens player, go in, bad tackle, yellow card. Messi does the same thing, and the ref kind of just walks over to him and gives him a talk like, "Hey, don't do that again, or I'm gonna have to pull the card out on you."
So just like last night where LeBron made a drive. I mean, he literally, I forget who was the guy. I want to say Klay Thompson, but I don't think it was. He literally ran over him to the basket. I mean, the guy was, and he was in position. I mean, that could have been charged.
Yeah,
but they showed it on replay 4 times, and you're sitting there going, the guy was standing there. Okay, it wasn't like he didn't move his feet at all. He didn't move his feet until LeBron crushed him. But he's the king, so the king gets a little extra treatment there.
Yeah, and that's a great example because you see it all the time with charges too, and even sometimes you see a guy travel to the basket and they give him that extra step. So these are just the refs are human too. That's why I say switch it to computers if you want it more accurate.
Get it done.
They don't pick favorites. They just tell you the ball is offside. Shut up.
Yeah. Just leave it alone.
Stop complaining.
Yeah. It was funny because in that game last night, also Steph Curry picked up his 3rd foul in the first half on a ticky-tack, type thing. And, he's there bemoaning it to the official, and the official's like, basically, I don't want to hear it. Just leave him, get off the court and shut up.
So there you go. Even within a game, like any other game of the regular season, he doesn't get that foul. LeBron doesn't get that foul. But when you have star versus star, then now you start favoring the bigger star.
Right. And, sorry, you're not getting. Now, look, Steph gets his share of calls. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But last night, what could have been a borderline foul, they gave it to him. It was like, I don't know, 17 seconds left in the first half. But
they won by 30, so it doesn't.
Yeah, they coasted, so I don't think they have to worry about that one.
They looked like the defending champions last night, but we'll see which team shows up in the next game.
I got to tell you, I mean, I know Klay Thompson is good, okay? I'd be a fool not to know Klay Thompson. The way that guy, he was just stroking from 3 points. Man, it was like, the basket was across the table. It's just like ching, ching, ching. And I mean, he was just hitting these shots. And, Steph was feeding him, and boy, did he take advantage of it.
Oh, well, that's the joke with the Warriors at home, right? It's the good old joke where they have the magnets in the net.
Yeah.
It's just they can't seem to miss a shot when they're at home.
Yeah. It's like, this is crazy.
And then they go on the road and can't hit anything.
Yeah. And that's the way it is sometimes. You can get there and you go, oh, wow, this is amazing. And, that one last night was, I mean, look, you have a night when you're on. Here was a stat that blew me away. The Lakers and the Warriors played last night, and the Lakers didn't have a foul until 47 seconds left in the opening in the opening half. So they basically go that entire time without going to the free throw line. They didn't get a foul on them the entire
Yeah,
time.
and you know what? It makes up for game one where they out free thrown whatever they were given. They were given 29 free throws in game one to Golden State 6. So you get that evening out now.
Yeah. So karma or officiating. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it was wild. And now those two teams will play again on Sunday. I think is when they're going to do it. Yeah, Sunday afternoon. They'll be back on the court against each other. It's been entertaining. The NBA playoffs have been very entertaining this year so far. But all good things have to come to an end, and we'll see how that works out. A lot of people still think that Denver's the number one team to beat thus far, and you got to think, to me anyway, that the team coming out of this Warriors and Lakers series, they're going to have the star power that they have. And you wonder if Denver's going to wilt, because this is not Denver's particular territory.
I don't know.
The NBA.
I think it's going to be. I think the final is going to be the Sixers and the Nuggets, and you're going to see the two MVPs of the last 3 years battle it out once and for all to see who is the better player.
Well, and then they're bigs too. That's normally not the way it is these days. Normally it's your forwards and your backcourt, but now these it's been a while since we've had no, they're not your traditional back you to the basket kind of big guys. They are cut and slash. They're kind of like Dirk Nowitzki and got days of old. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how that works out. The Rays swept the Buccos and are now moving on up for a weekend series with the Yankees, which is, as I understand it, almost sold out. So that means that Yankee Stadium South will be full of Yankee fans watching the Rays and the Yankees play. Over the weekend, supposed to be you got the Dodgers and the Mets, you got the Rays and the Yankees. You got some good baseball over there.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting series going on. You got the red hot Red Sox all of a sudden. They're making waves. The Yankees are actually at the bottom of the division now.
Right.
17
banged up. Yeah, they are.
But that just goes to show you how good the division is. Not a single team under 500, and then you look at the AL Central, and you got like the Twins, and then the rest of the teams under 500.
Well, look at Baltimore. I mean, if Baltimore had that record early on last year, they'd been in first place. They just happen to have that kind of season where they're playing phenomenal ball. But if the Rays are playing at 26-6, it's hard not to pay attention. And also hard not to, you're 5 games back, and you haven't even finished the month of of May. And besides that, 5 games back, haven't finished the month of May. And by the way, you have the best record in 10 years. So. It's one of those things where you just got to sit there and go, we're going to play every day and see how it works out, because, you're not going to gain anything. Was the Red Sox swept the Blue Jays, and I saw some of that, and the Jays didn't look bad. It's just that they had some freaky things happen at the wrong time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gausman didn't pitch well at all. So he gave up 6 runs in that one inning.
Pitching batting practice.
In those 2 innings, but they haven't been playing bad. It's just, I don't know, the Red Sox all of a sudden are playing well, and they're supposed to be the worst in the division. So that's interesting.
And the crazy part of this, right, is that for all intents and purposes, it's the Red Sox have the Red Sox last year only beat the Blue Jays 4 times. So they just lost 3 in a row. The Red Sox are 1 win away from equaling their quota against the the Jays last year.
Yeah, clearly still mad about that one weekend we smashed them like 40-10 or whatever it was.
It's just murderers row. Yeah.
There was that one. I remember there was that like three game series or something where it was every game was like 14-5. It just absolutely crushed them. That was when the Red Sox were on their long losing streak or whatever.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. And it's just one of those things where you sit there and go, well, maybe we can get this thing and make it work, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. And this seems to be one of those times. What are you from a standpoint of what's going on this weekend? When you get ready for your handicapping process, do you begin a day ahead of time, or do you start in the morning, or how does that work for you on a game flow situation?
It depends on the sport. Like my soccer for tomorrow has already been posted because Saturday, the weekends tend to have earlier games.
Right, much earlier games.
Like I can post a play in the morning during the week because a lot of the games are at 3, but most of the games are before noon Eastern tomorrow. So I've already got soccer plays up. And with the playoffs, honestly, I'm following both the NHL and the NBA playoffs so closely that it's you kind of know what you want the next game as you're watching it, as you're watching the series unfold in front of you. So it's pretty much basketball. You have to wait sometimes because obviously there's injuries. So I'll do all the handicapping for everything the day before, and then sometimes I'll wait till the morning of to post it. Especially sometimes there's different line movement if it's moving a certain way, and then baseball. Sometimes I'll do the night. I always handicap it again the day before, but sometimes I'll post it the night before if I think I'm getting value on a line that's going to move a lot overnight. But other times, I'll wait till the next morning because I do sometimes like to look at how the actual team is playing. Pitching matchups matter a lot, but it's not always going to boil down to the pitching matchup. Sometimes teams are just hot offensively, and you got to ride that.
So what happens from a standpoint of, baseball doesn't really change lineups that much. I mean, you pretty much know what's going to happen in that regard. But you definitely have the situation where you could have a late, about an injury could pop up, and then you go from there.
Yeah, honestly, the lineup is pretty interchangeable. I find it doesn't really matter, even if you're missing like a lot of time your best player. Other guys can step up too. A lot of it does boil down to the pitching. So it's and like I said, if a team is scoring 8 runs a game and they're just playing well as a team, that's not one guy who's scoring the 8 runs, right? So definitely, you could change 3 guys in the lineup for the next game. It doesn't matter. You're playing well as a team, and I noticed that in baseball is that right teams go on runs, so you gotta watch for that.
Yeah, there's always that situation where you're sitting there going, okay, what's going on here? And then you look up and go, okay, I get it. The streakiness is part of baseball. I mean, where you get on a 5 or 6 or 7 game run. And you're not supposed to, because you're beating people you're not supposed to be. And, that's in some regards the beauty and the difficulty, I would assume, of working in that realm of trying to handicap something, is that you can't handicap the next day's pitcher if you don't know what these pitcher's going to do. And have you seen, I should say it that way, have you seen the new rules affecting the way people have wagered on it?
Not so much with the wagering necessarily. I don't know if the new rules, I guess maybe the shift has affected it, because as you're seeing, some teams that were good last year aren't good, and obviously the scoring is up a lot this year, and we're still in the the colder months of the season.
Yeah,
So
usually when the scoring is not up.
yeah, so it's going to be definitely interesting when we see it get warmer in the summer in a lot of these northern cities too. But obviously down south it's always going to be hot, but it's going to get even hotter too, which definitely affects the game. So yeah, I haven't really seen nothing about the rules affecting too much handicapping. Not so much, maybe just the totals probably, but you're not seeing, I noticed, as much sevens as you saw last year. You saw a ton of sevens to eights last year.
Yeah.
This year, you'll see a 7 or a 7.5 when it's two like ace pitchers. The two, Scherzer, Verlander, guy. Obviously, they're not what they used to be, but guys like that, you'll see the really low. Like I think the Kershaw Darvish one was a 7.5 today. That matchup. So you'll get those for that, but I'm noticing they've kind of adjusted on that. A lot of the totals now are 8 to 10. Really, I see a lot of nines and 9.5 type things, and it gets, it can get tough when teams are gonna score a lot, but 9.5 is not an attractive number because 10 runs is still asking for a lot. It can be a high scoring game and still stay under 9.5. So definitely, I would think if anything, it's the totals it's probably affecting more.
Actually, I owe you an apology, and that is you had mentioned that Max Scherzer was going to pitch the other day, and I said no, he's still on suspension. And lo and behold, he went out there and it didn't last long, but he was definitely there. So I missed that one. And then of course Justin Verlander goes out, pitches his first game back from being on the shelf, and he gives up 2 home runs in the first inning, and then he doesn't give up anything else.
I was going to say pitched great, and those are the only two. Those are the only 2 runs of the game.
Yeah, it's I assume he's taken Jacob deGrom's position because it used to be that deGrom would go out there and literally pitch his arm off, and the run support was absolutely ludicrous. I mean, didn't even come close. So
yeah,
back together the Sunshine Boys, Verlander and Scherzer, and but they're not exactly burning up the league at this point. But these guys are in it for the long run, so we'll see how that plays out. And not necessarily personally being a Mets fan, it doesn't hurt me that much to see what goes on with them in that regard. The funny thing is, yesterday, after, and this happens in baseball all the time, and I know that you track it, and you probably get a lot of grief about it too. A team goes out, scores like 1 or 2 runs, and you're sitting there going, man, how did that happen? The next day, I saw the Cardinals and the Angels. The Cardinals had, basically shut them down. That was the day before. By the 5th inning yesterday, the Angels were leading with I think the score was 11 to 2 or 3. And you're like, where did all these runs come? They couldn't come last night, right? Now, in theory, it's all pitching and all that other stuff, but it does screw with your head when you're sitting there going, how did, yesterday when I wanted them to win and needed them to win, they couldn't hit, anything. Today they're hitting everything. And the pitcher today is a better pitcher than the guy who pitched last night.
Yeah, that's definitely terrible when that happens. Even the opposite way when you're expecting you're not expecting a lot of runs, and then you get a lot of runs in that game, and then the next day you get nothing when you're supposed to get runs, and it's like what the heck is going on? But again, that's why I say the pitching really, it all boils down a lot to the pitching, because that was pretty much the same Angels lineup they threw out there.
It was exactly the same Angels.
Yeah, so there you go. And then from one day to another, go from scoring no runs to double digit runs. So yeah, it's all about the pitching matchup, because these guys are human too. Even a good pitcher wakes up on a day and maybe he says, I don't have my stuff today, so So that's just how it goes, and you got to be mindful of those things.
You got to be absolutely. The other thing,
If someone's pitching great for like
Mhm.
six straight starts or something where he hasn't given up a run, like that regression is going to come eventually. Just when it comes is a matter of trying to figure that out.
well, and yeah, you get that situation where, we just talked about Verlander. I'm sorry, not Verlander. Jacob DeGrom, when he was on the Mets, not getting run support. You'll have another situation where a guy isn't anywhere near the pitcher that DeGrom is on the same team, and they'll score 7, 8, 9 runs for this guy every time he pitches, and he'll have a higher ERA and everything else. And you're sitting there going, how come he gets 7 runs a game and DeGrom, if he's lucky, gets 2?
And that's because, again, these guys are human. The team wakes up and says, we got that guy on the mound today. We know we have to score runs if we want to win.
Right. Well, the one thing that my only counter argument to, in some regards to that theory, is most of the time that Jacob DeGrom pitches, right, he's facing the other team's ace. And so it's not like, DeGrom is fantastic, but if you're facing the number one pitcher on the other team, odds are that guy can pitch too. So you might be blaming the offense or lack thereof on pitching on playing when DeGrom doesn't do well, does well but doesn't score enough runs. But on the same side, you're going to get the other guy. I mean, if you get Scherzer back in the day when you got Scherzer versus DeGrom, that was a 1-0, 2-0 game. Most of the time would win it. So it wasn't was it DeGrom being a bad pitcher? No, it was DeGrom making a mistake here or there. Or most often in that case, DeGrom would pitch 6 innings, be gone, and the bullpen would blow it up. So, it is what it is, but it does happen in that regard. So we'll see. I mean, I do think the pitch clock has altered pitchers. And here's where the thing that I thought was interesting. The reason the pitchers that like the pitch clock, and you would think that hate it, is because according to, I think it was Elias who stats everything, that it's cutting something like 4 to 6 pitches per inning off of the the pitcher. So you're literally pitching less from the standpoint of throwing balls and strikes or whatever, because you're not really having, when you pitch it, they're going to either hit it or you're not going to strike it out. You're not getting as many strikeouts because guys don't have that time to walk around the mound and collect themselves. They need to get back on the rubber and start pitching. So, for what it's worth, an early stat from Elias is that pitchers are not having to throw as many balls, which means they don't have to, it's not as tough on their arms as it might be. And so that will hopefully help them later in the season.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other thing, the stolen bases are up too.
Yeah,
so
they like our pizza boxes.
So that's one thing that the rules are definitely affecting. We said totals, and the stolen bases, that helps the total, because all of a sudden I watched Raimel Tapia, the ex-Blue Jay, get from first to third on 2 different occasions in yesterday's game,
which normally would not have happened.
Yeah. I
saw Freddie Freeman steal a base, and I don't think the last time I saw Freddie Freeman steal a base was his rookie year. It's like, when Freddie Freeman steals bases, you have you definitely either have a pitcher who's not paying any attention to the runner on base, and that's probably part of it. You made that point. If you're not a left-handed pitcher and you've got a pitch clock and you got a guy at first base, you got to be careful. I have seen a lot more box being called than I have in a long time. It's too bad they don't have an over and under on box, because there have been guys, just freaking to get the guy out at first base and then realize, oh, wait a minute, my foot wasn't on the rubber when I threw.
Yeah, and there's that thing where you can only check the runner twice. So
right.
Now you got to think about that too, right? If I use my 2-1 right away.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I remember seeing that the guy, I forget who it was, but he got called off and called out. I'm sorry, and it was because he had thrown 3 straight pitches over to first base to push him back, on the bag. And the umpire goes, sorry, that's it. And we're trying to figure out what is it? Is it a mock? And then they go, oh no, this is what it is. I was like, wow, this is I hadn't even seen it. I mean, I heard about it, but it didn't. Foxy's in the house. Man, you in the mud, absolutely dominated.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one. All right. I lost my Man United plus the half. It ruined my 8-0 Premier League run. And I lost for a penalty kick that was awarded after the game was ended. So we're not going to talk about that one.
Not going to talk about. Well, we have always been a fan of Brighton. We just didn't necessarily think.
Just not yesterday. We were not a Brighton fan yesterday.
Come back anytime, Brighton, but not yesterday. So there's that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. And we're chatting a little bit about yesterday about horse racing and how it's not exactly what it once was. The glorious and glory days of it has long since passed us. And tomorrow will be the Triple Crown first run, which is of course Kentucky Derby 149th Kentucky Derby. By all means, if you get a chance, check it out. It's going to be here in the States. It's on NBC is going to give us 7.5 hours of horse racing, and so get ready to bet accordingly. It's going to be interesting to see that. But once the Kentucky Derby is over, even if there's the winner goes to the Preakness, it's just it's somehow lost its luster. The biggest horse racing day is now, the Breeders' Cup, and it's not. Of course, you go to the Kentucky Derby to be seen. Basically, it's a lot of people, and it's less about. And they have Kentucky Derby parties, and there's all kinds of. It may be the one time a casual sports fan will watch a horse race. And they're not going to watch 7.5 hours of it, but they will watch, the horse race.
The 5-minute, 10-minute race.
Yeah, well, they used to call it the fastest 2 minutes in sport. I don't recall it ever finishing in 2 minutes, but okay, fine. We'll go with that premise. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And part of the problem, and this is what I found interesting in talking to some of the horse people, they're upset because the way that horses are being bred these days, their legs are very, very, they're not thick, they're thin. And they're very subject to, either breaking or in some way getting a problem on it. And so what they're trying to do is because if you watch European horse races, or over in Middle East, the horses have much stronger, bigger type legs, and so they're less likely to be impacted one way or another. So it should be interesting how that works out, because unfortunately there've been a lot of horses had to be put down because of the thin legs breaking and that being a problem for them. And in some cases it happens. It happened 2 or 3 years ago at the Derby, where the filly broke her leg on the stretch run and had to be put to death on the track because they couldn't. It didn't feel like it'd be wise to move. So it was something that they got to be careful of. But no, the Kentucky Derby is someplace you go to watch and to eat and to be seen. Not necessarily, there are people who go there to bet, but not as much as at your normal racetrack, which I think you and I've already said we don't go to, so that makes it easier to not lose money there. So all right, let's. What are you looking forward to over the weekend? Got anything, 2 or 3 things that you might want to share?
No, I'm probably just gonna watch the Premier League game. They don't excite me too much, and then I'll just watch, the playoffs, and that's about it.
Not the coronation of the king. Okay.
Oh, absolutely not. I have no interest.
He's not my king.
I have no interest in watching real world events. It's all sports for me.
Right. Do not put this in front of me. I don't care. So
Yeah.
there you go.
I actually probably will watch the Kentucky Derby because just the one race and then that's it.
Just to give you some help.
As you said, the casual fan, I will tune in for that.
Right.
Even though I have no action or interest in it.
I think if you tune in around 6:15 Eastern time, okay, just mark it on your calendar. You will get to see the last, the horses coming out of the paddock and then, being saddled and then being, jockeys up and all that sort of thing. That all comes between about 6:15 and 6:35, which is theoretically when they're gonna, put everybody in the gate and away they go. So I actually have the list from NBC on when it's supposed to go off. So that'll save you some time. You only have to watch 15, 20 minutes of the horse situation. One thing before we get out here, kind of an aside to look forward to. David Michaels, Al Michaels' brother, directs that race for NBC. And David has this cool thing where the crew member, the camera person, who gets the best shot of the strangest hat being worn, on Derby Day, which they do this kind of montage of, while my old Kentucky home is playing or something, and they just keep, dissolving back and forth between all of these people. And that's where you see so many hats. And so David has put together a pool year in and year out that the camera person who could get the craziest hat, wins the prize. So don't be surprised if you see a lot of hats tomorrow, at least for a montage of 3 to 4 minutes prior to the Derby, because it means a little extra to some of the guys being involved in it. But,
all right, I will keep my eye out for some hats.
Yeah, you could and get your girlfriend in there, and she can give you some fashion info.
Yeah, see which hat I look best in.
Well, yeah, what hat she would look best in.
That too.
Because that's the one.
She's not really a hat person. That's the thing.
Well,
I'm the hat person.
That's okay. Most of the women will be wearing what they call fasten. It's fascinators, I think is what it's called. It's a hat that kind of just fits, it's clipped to your hair. It's not really sitting on your head. Boy, my fashion sense, I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, check that out. So Amadeus and I are getting ready for the weekend. Hope you guys are too. If you need anything, you see our media handles up there where you can get us on Twitter. And by all means, enjoy yourself. Be safe, most importantly. And we'll be back on Monday to find out who won the Derby and to find out, who in the playoffs has got the leg up on you. So we'll see you on Monday, everybody. Have a nice weekend.